Hey everybody, this is Erika.
And this is Tina.
And we are A92A. A92A stands for ages 9 to adult. That's how long we've been on this journey together as friends.
92 is also our high school graduation year.
And ages 9 to adult is a nod to the board game Life, which we rockified as kids in order to live out our rock and roll fantasies. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Tina, today is special guest day.
It is very special.
I'm so thrilled to introduce a killer musician. Tina, you and I got to know him as the bassist for the band Trixter. We've talked about him many times on this podcast and about the band in general. And his career has continued to evolve for the last 30 plus years with solo projects and collaborations and working with some of the biggest active rock names in the business. It's insane the longevity this man has had, really. Of course, the only person I could be talking about is the coolest, PJ Farley. Yay!
I'm going to use that intro.
You are?
We'll email it to you.
That's a soundbite.
Thank you so much for joining us, PJ. You guys don't know this, but we had to reschedule this interview so many times, and he was a saint, kind of going with the flow with us, so we really appreciate it. But we're going to jump right in. Tina and I have so many questions for you, PJ. We really do.
Sure.
We've talked about you so many times on this podcast, so we're going to jump right in. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So I want to know, like, as a kid, you started out drumming, but it seems like you kind of found your true passion playing bass. And in the late 80s and 90s, when Trixter was kind of first coming up, who were the bassists in the business at that time that you really respected? So not even so much your influences, but at that time, who were some of the other bass players that you really thought were the coolest?
Steve Harris from Iron Maiden.
Oh, nice.
Nikki Sixx, Motley Crue. And then you have the other spectrum, which Jaco Pastorius, Stanley Clarke, Geddy Lee, a number. It was this was in 80 something, I don't know. But right around that time, those are the players that I was looking at.
Have you had a chance to play with like some or most of them over the course of your career?
I opened for Motley Crue once.
Yeah.
That's as close as I got. Nowhere near Geddy Lee. Steve Harris, not yet.
Not yet. I like the attitude.
Yeah. It's bound to happen. I play in too many bands. One of them got to play with Iron Maiden.
Absolutely.
I am optimistic.
Well, so funny.
I want to go back to Trixter's self-titled album coming out in 1990. You were really just kind of a kid back then. I mean, you were a teenager, like 17, 18 when that album came out. What was it like being so young and thrust into the limelight and playing, big shows and touring around? What was that like?
It was really exciting because we were so hungry and ready for it, even though we were so young. But we went on the road. It was just our group of friends and our band traveling the country together. Our road crew was our friends. We were brothers. So it was just like, we didn't feel like we were on the road. We just felt like every day was a gift because we were so young. We had nothing really holding us back. We had no bills, no nothing. It was just like, this is the coolest thing in the world. And it's the best time to do it.
It's really like every teenager's dream. Like, I can't believe it.
Totally.
Like, I'm a rock star at 18. Like, that's just...
Oh my God. My son is 18. I cannot imagine him going on tour right now. I think that's crazy.
It was.
Well, I have an awkward story because I met you around that time. This is... She said...
PJ, I've heard this story so many times over the course. We've been friends since we were in elementary school. Now, this happened a little bit later on when we were in high school, but I've heard this story so many times.
Yeah.
So, Tina, tell the story.
A good friend of ours worked at the radio station, and she got me backstage at your show. It was in the Sioux City Auditorium, and we can't really remember who you were touring with. Maybe Firehouse, White Lion, something like that. And I was backstage and met you, and I was incredibly shy back then and introverted, but I was also trying to be really cool. I was probably 16. I don't know. And the whole thing was just very awkward. You were so kind. You were asking me questions and trying to engage me in conversation. And I was so standoffish and weird and awkward. And you gave up after a few minutes. I don't blame you at all. Like, you were like, okay, well, nice meeting you, and kind of rolled off to, go to the craft table. But this is my chance at redemption, really. But,
And literally, it's been like we have to get PJ
tried.
Farley on the podcast so that Tina can redeem her social awkwardness. So thank you.
So
thank you for
so
that.
you can actually talk.
I can. I'm actually.
Yeah, he's remembered this. So many years. He's remembered this.
32 years later, we finally, the secrets, revealed.
Yes, accurate. Accurate.
So funny. So we loved Trixter. Your music, especially at the time, I think felt really fun and carefree. And especially like Give It To Me Good had more of an impactful acoustic sound. I mean, it was really kind of a little bit of a different sound or a diversion for what was out at the time. And I thought the lyrics in all of your songs were really great as well. Now, I have heard that Trixter may reemerge in some form or fashion at some point. Is there any truth to that?
Well, currently, the guitar player, Steve Brown, and we are kind of keeping the spirit alive by just doing some select acoustic shows where he and I sing the songs, tell stories. We do some stuff for my solo records, some deep cuts, and just kind of really have fun, but really just to kind of keep it alive. The other guys aren't really in the game anymore. Pete's moved on. He's kind of like, he's got his life at home, and, so he's kind of just not really into the touring game, and which is fine. That happens. Life gets in the way. So Steve and I are just working musicians. This is what we do. So in lieu of keeping the songs alive, and people want to hear them, so we do our best to do them and sing them properly, and tell stories about it, and just really kind of appreciate the fact that we can still do it and people still want to hear it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm curious. I want to go back to the sort of early 90s into the mid 90s. The music scene was really changing. We were hearing the Seattle sound come down, hip hop, just different vibes. What was the conversation within Trixter at that time? Were you guys worried about staying relevant and contemporary and writing, songs that would still appeal to your fan base? Like, what were you guys talking about in that time period?
I think we knew right when our second record came out and we were going to radio and being shut out immediately. We came out and like radio stations were just changing their formats every single day. It was like, we no longer play that stuff. We're playing grunge, alternative. Nope, sorry. Where we would get added to all these stations that like, can't play you now. We knew the writing was on the wall. And we were on the Kiss tour, and we were like, okay, guys, let's enjoy this, because this is probably going to be the last big tour we're going to see for quite some time. We always had a really good kind of perspective and head on our shoulders. We were always happy to be there, no matter what. Appreciative. We never took it for granted. And we knew there's a trap door in Cloud 9.
Yeah.
We didn't know when it was going to open. So we felt it rumble a little bit once we got on that tour and went to radio for our first single. So, we kind of prepared for landing, so to speak.
Sure.
Well, I that segues right into my next question, because really you were able to make that jump from that kind of 80s metal genre to modern rock in a way that a lot of others haven't, notably with the bands Ra and Fozzy and many others that you've toured with and played on albums with. What's your secret to longevity in this business, and how do you think these collaborations continue to fuel you creatively as a musician? I've been really blessed to be able to, on the conveyor, just kind of keep, if not remaining level or leveling up, and relevant. I've been really lucky that way. Luck definitely has to play a part in it. But I also believe in manifestation, and, if you mean what you're doing, it's going to translate, it's going to be contagious. You're going to attract it, and I've never gone through my career thinking I am the best musician in the world, because I certainly am not. I'm just not. You can throw a dart out a window and hit a better musician than me. But I also mean it more than I think some of those better players. And I think if I'm going out, if I want to play in a particular band, it's because I know I can handle the tunes. It's not out of my wheelhouse. And I know that I could probably mean it more than the next guy. Yeah. And I believe that. And I think that just the genuine approach is really the thing that kind of carries me. I really am passionate.
It's so.
And I think that goes far further than really being the greatest musician in the world. I really believe that.
Yeah, true.
It's really great. We talked with John Corabi fairly recently, and same kind of thing. He's really a working musician. He's been doing this for years and years and years, and isn't burning bridges, and is meeting new people and working with new people. It's really great to see that, rather than bands that were a flash in the pan and then just went away. We don't know where they went.
Yeah, it's appreciation too. I mean, I think the fact that I had so much success early on, it set the tone. It gave me a background of, I always kind of equated to being the New York Yankees. The Yankees don't win the World Series every year, but they won it a lot. They're so blessed. And I'm a Yankee fan. And my best friend's a Mets fan. And he's bitter and hates the Yankee fans. And meanwhile, I don't have a problem with the Mets or the Mets fans or anything. Like, hey, guys, you're winning this year. Good for you, And
Yeah.
I'm losing this year, but I'll get them next year. So I kind of have that little part of success that took away any bitterness that might have kind of bubbled if I didn't have that. Because I think that's what kind of ruins some people's demeanor when they go out for things and want to play with people. And, you got to learn how to play the music, mean it, and be a good hang too, and be a good person. And I think that definitely played a part in letting me be, appreciative and take the good with the bad. It's like, hey man, I'm blessed. No matter
It's
what.
so true. Like I can think of a handful of people just off the top of my head, because of course we follow a lot of people on social media, and it seems like there are some out there who really have that bitter attitude, and they're constantly complaining about not getting picked up by this tour, or not getting this opportunity, or somebody else got something they didn't. And I just don't think good things tend to manifest as easily for people that go into life and into the universe with that kind of attitude. So I can
100%.
definitely see where that would help.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
I've done my share of gigs that are not glamorous at all, where
Right.
I've had plenty of moments where I go, it's going to get better, right? Is that it? Was that it? Am I missing something here? Because what I'm doing right now is dreadful. And I've been there plenty of times, but I always kept my chin up, and just said, keep your head up, man, and stay at it. So
did you ever have a backup plan, or did you ever consider doing something else, or have you always been able to fill the gaps musically?
I know nothing else.
Okay.
I started so young, and I hit a good streak when I was so young. I didn't have time for a backup plan. I learned no other skill.
Well, that's not true, because I've seen you in some of your music videos, and I think you have some acting talent. Like I could see an actor in your future.
All right. Well, I might have to put that, theory to test at some point.
Yeah. Well, come out to LA. You could go on some auditions. It'll be great. I have to ask, and my apologies, this is going to be really silly, but of course, Fozzy is fronted by Chris Jericho of professional wrestling fame. Do the two of you ever wrestle? Does he teach you any moves?
No, we have not wrestled yet. Luckily, it has not come to that. No, we it's funny because Chris and I became friends through music. Eddie Trunk introduced us like 15 years ago, and he was a big Trixter fan. So we had dinner one night, and I didn't really know him as a wrestler. I was kind of out of wrestling by the time I was like 12, 13. So I never saw him wrestle. And I know Chris, the musician and the music fan. Of course, I know his whole wrestling career now, but I only saw him wrestle for the first time last year when we were on tour. And I'd seen clips online, but I didn't know his wrestling career. And so when we're together, there's no time for, that. Right? We're always so talking about music, and we have so much to talk about. We have a lot of the same interests, and we have such a good hang with that. But, I mean, now I do follow it now, and I watch it, and I'm just mesmerized. Like, I can't believe what he's doing out there. And one of these days I'll have to have him teach me something. I can't have him be one of my closest friends at this point and not learn a move or two.
I think you should learn a throw or something like that. But if you were a professional wrestler, what would your persona be? Like, do you have a character in mind for that?
I don't know. I have to put a little thought into it.
Let's think about that. Okay.
That does take some thought. I read some article or an interview with Chris Jericho where he was talking about the fact that people often ask him, like, which came first, or which are you? Are you a musician or are you a wrestler? And he's like, I'm both. I've always been both. A lot of people either know him as one or the other, but truly, like, he is both, and he's always been interested in both. So that sounds about right. 100%. So you're currently touring with Eric Martin. We've been following you on socials, your escapades all over the US. So what's that been like? What's your current tour like?
It's great, actually. It's Eric Martin, myself, Paul Pesco on guitar, Jason Hartless on drums, and we're opening for Michael Schenker. And it's cool for, I'm getting up there in age, so it's like, I hear sometimes we're going on 11 o'clock. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So we're on at 8 o'clock every night. I'm like, woohoo. Even with Fozzy, we headline, we're on at 9:30 every night. That's doable.
Yeah.
Any later than that, I'm like, oh man, come on, I need a nap. So this tour we're on at 8 o'clock. It's a half-hour set. We're done at 8:30. Back to the hotel at 9 o'clock if we want. So that's amazing. It's amazing because Schenker, any musician I talk to, because guitar players in particular, love Schenker, and not just love Schenker. They're like, no, he's the guy that started it for me. And on this tour, I've noticed that a lot of people feel the same way. 80% of this tour has been sold out so far, and the fans are just cult-like. And it's a treat to see him play every night. It really is amazing, and you get to see why people are such big followers of him. So it's a really cool tour for us.
Yeah, and that wraps when? When do you wrap up your tour with Schenker and with Eric Martin?
October 27th is our last show. We jump off before the last 2 or 3 dates of the tour.
Okay, so a few more opportunities to catch it before you guys are done. But you've recorded 2 solo albums as well, Boutique Sound Frames and Accent the Change. Do you have more plans for solo work, or what else is next for you?
The ideas are starting to come a little bit slowly. I didn't plan on doing a second record. It just kind of happened. Yeah, just like a song came, another song came. And then before I knew it, once the floodgates open, you're like, I guess I'm doing a record. But it's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally. And these days, not a lot in return. And that's fine. Music is a platform to just kind of draw people in, not, recoup. So, I don't stop writing. So it's starting to happen again, where I had some time off this summer, and I was able to just kind of, and I had some extra time off after we pushed the Fozzy tour back, and I had time to just let my brain float around and, kind of be creative. So yeah, some stuff appeared. So we'll see. I'm not putting a time frame or a goal of doing a record or anything. I mean, I'm starting to come around with the old mentality of the new model, which is, release a single and then a couple months later release another single. The old dog in me was, that last record I put out, it's like, no, I have the sequence, there's a ride that you go on with the record, and it doesn't really land too much anymore. People are just like, Spotify, play PJ Farley, Let It Rain, okay? And that's it. It's not like put the record on start to finish anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I feel like so few people do that. I mean, I know vinyl is making a resurgence, so maybe in that sort of space, people are listening to things more start to finish, but obviously most people are consuming music the way you just said, where they're looking for one song and you're listening to it and then you're done, you move on to a different artist. So that's very true.
Right.
Well, thank you, PJ. We know that you're in a time crunch. You're on tour, you're in hotels, you're trying to make things happen. So thank you for joining us. You've been so much fun to talk to. We love that you are still performing live and putting out excellent music and pushing the limits with what you drop into the universe. So I know the two of us will be following along wherever your journey leads next. But that's fantastic. Absolutely. But we also have a listener call out. We want others to kind of join in on social media this week. Tell us about your favorite PJ Farley music moments. Did you love Trixter like the two of us? Have you been following PJ and Raw or Fozzy or with Eric Martin? Who would you love to see PJ collaborate with next? PJ, do you have somebody that you want to collaborate with next?
I'd like to hear their thoughts on it. Not at the moment because I have such a full dance card. I'm like,
yeah,
it's in God's hands. Who's going to call? But I love it. I love playing with different people. It keeps me on my toes. It makes me branch out and a more well-rounded, musician. So I love it. I mean, I miss the days of just being in, Trixter was one band, one for all for one, hyper focused. I miss that because we were so zoned in, but those days are gone. You just can't do it anymore. You can't bank on one scenario anymore. So I'm thankful, although I missed that for so long, I'm thankful that my career took me to all these other places and bands and, genres.
Well, I feel like even musicians that are in like really solid bands that are still performing and touring and making music, they're still going out and collaborating individually with other musicians and other artists. So that's definitely something I think that keeps people alive creatively and keeps those juices flowing. So we can't wait to see what you do next. But all right, guys, you can follow us and interact with us on our website, a92a.life, on Instagram at a92a_life, or check out our Facebook page, A92A. And in the meantime, keep ratting those bangs and banging those heads. Thank you so much, PJ.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good to finally talk to you, Tina.
Bud. Awkward.
Awkward. All right, guys.
All right. Well, thank you so much, for real. Thank you for doing this. I know it was kind of a crazy thing to try to schedule, but we really, really greatly appreciate it. So.
That's all right. That's how we do it.
Yeah. All right. Have a great show tonight.
All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye.